going on, guys? Welcome back to another book review. Not Colleen Hoover today, Prince Harry, Spare, and I am excited to bring this one to you. It's kind of a mixed review for me. I wanted, just like when I did Michelle Obama's book, I just wanted insight from a powerful person. I wanted to learn something about a person I know nothing about that holds a very prestigious place in the world that we live in. He's the prince of another country that I don't live in. So does anything about him really affect me a whole lot? No. He's not even in line to be like a part of a monarch. Like, he's the spare. So I've heard about him. I've heard about him and Meghan Markle. I know nothing about him other than he served in the British military, so I was excited to hear about that. And then I saw this, and I was like, whoa, well, maybe he just pretended like he did. You'll come to find he wore a few costumes, maybe some he shouldn't have, throughout the book. Let's get into it, shall we? Prince Harry's book was pretty well written. It was written more like a journal. The paragraphs are laid out more, or the chapters are laid out more like paragraphs. Some of them are very short, just a couple sentences. He's just telling stories. It's broken down into 3 parts, if you will. Part 1, his formative upbringing. Part 2, him being in the military. And then, as you could expect, Part 3, when he meets Meghan Markle. And Prince Harry struggles from a young age from the death of his mother, Princess Diana. And I know nothing about Princess Diana, right? I was born in 1992. So base your knowledge of what you know and how you feel about the death of Princess Diana around your age. Maybe I was not as educated on the royals and what happened around that time. It's just never something that hit my radar. So I learned in this book that Princess Diana was killed being chased through a tunnel in Paris by paparazzi, and she crashed, and it killed her and her boyfriend that she was with at the time. She was not a part of the royal family anymore. She was divorced. Her boyfriend and a friend of theirs, the driver or whatever, and she was killed. He starts the book just talking about how he kind of denied the fact that she was dead. He had told himself, even past her funeral, that she was just gone. She had disappeared to escape the paparazzi because she was just so tired of the constant paparazzi. That's pretty much the constant tone of the book. Prince Harry really does not like the paparazzi. He calls them the paps. There he calls 2 in specific, Tweedledee and Tweedledummer, which, come on, man, I love Alice in Wonderland. Don't use them in a bad way. But I get it, Tweedledee, Tweedledummer. He really does not like the fucking press at all. He doesn't like them. He hates them. And he mentions that in every single chapter in this book. It's a whole book about how much he hates this guy. He doesn't like the press. So he probably doesn't like me, even as an individual entertainment source, I guess, reviewing his book. I probably, to him, am scum. He talks about and I'm making jokes, let me stop. Prince Harry is talking about his upbringing, which none of us can relate to. Absolutely none of us. None of us are a part of the royal family. We never have been. I don't want to hear about your 23andMe results, right? Prince Harry is talking about what it's like to grow up in the royal family and being one of the non-royals. Kind of the non-royals, because he is royal, but he's never going to be king or queen, right? He's never going to achieve that because there's people that precede him in line, and it's his brother, and throughout the book, his brother has more kids kicking him further down the line, right? And from a young age, he's processing what that is. He claims he doesn't care, he has no feelings about it whatsoever, but he's talking more about the constant eyes on him when he doesn't feel like there should be, when he's like, hey, why are you guys paying attention to me at all? There's way more important people, go watch them. I think this book, in a lot of ways, was like him revealing to the world, here's all the things the world would try to cancel me for. He talks about wearing a Nazi uniform when he was like in his 20s. He talks about the drugs that he's done, cocaine, smokes weed, sounds like pretty regularly. His drinking, antics, talks about his time and even his number of death count in war. So again, I think a lot of this is just Prince Harry coming to the world and going, here's 8 Mile style. Here's what everybody's going to say about me. Here's what everybody has said about me. And here's my version of that. I think he does a good job of owning up for a lot of it. I think in the Nazi uniform situation, he was like, I genuinely didn't think this was going to be, I just wasn't thinking, I just genuinely wasn't thinking. And then he talks about having to go through like being re-educated about, the Holocaust and what that was. Again, you made a mistake. You showed how you redeemed yourself and how you learned the lesson. I think we can move on from it. I don't think we need to fry Prince Harry over the coals on that one any more than they already did. It seemed like it was all over the news when it happened. I think a lot of this book was him showing... I wish he would have shown more of what his relationships were like with his family. Everybody was just cold and standoffish. And when you pissed them off once, nobody ever spoke to you again. And that was it. You started to be banished out of the castle and out of the whole, grounds. That's pretty much how he made it. And you're like, well, yeah, man, we knew that. We knew that you and Meghan felt like... And I was more interested. I had heard rumblings of Meghan and Harry felt like the royal family was racist, and that's why they were exiled away from the family. Again, he made it seem more like the press made those things an issue. He made a couple comments where somebody maybe he called his pa, which, as an American, I know him as an adult. Now, I didn't know this man as a child. I didn't watch this version of him. I've only seen this version of him. So for the whole time to watch him call his mother, mummy, you're like, yo. And then his dad is pa. And now you've seen King Charles since Queen Elizabeth II died. And you're like, oh, that's your pa? And you're like, yeah, he is kind of an asshole. So I get some of the cold, callous, standoffish stuff he's talking about in that. It is a lot of like... My life was tough for me, but I don't think he's unaware of the privilege that he held. I don't think he's unaware of what people think of him, and I think he even sees a lot of that as justified. I think this is, if you're willing to look through the comedic flaws that are easy for us to make because he's a fucking he's a royal. Nobody wants to hear a royal complain about anything. Nothing. He talks about the one, his aunt, who was a miserable mess because she would never be royal. She was in love with someone who was a divorcee, so she could never get remarried, and talks about how disastrous this person was. Which I've seen The Crown. I saw how Helena Bonham Carter portrayed that character. I saw that character as he portrayed her in this book. It's just, I wish he would have talked more about, the inside baseball, inside the walls of the castle. And, he did talk about some intimate conversations with him and his grandmother. And that's what I was waiting for. Why did he wait to release this right after the Queen died? Because there was something that the Queen said that he wanted the world to know. And I won't tell you what that is, but it pretty much ends the book with it. Right before her passing. So, I think it's worth the read. You can make fun of it if you want. Obviously, it's easy to throw shade at the Prince of fucking England. Prince of Wales, Duke of Wales, whatever the fuck. He's nothing now, I guess. They stripped him of all that. But Prince Harry... The book, if you want to know what his life has been like from his eyes, that's why, one of my favorite books is still this one, Tim Tebow, Through My Eyes, because guys, I think it's important that you just learn about how people grew up, what made them who they are. These are two totally different guys who have lived two totally different lives, and for you to read both of their stories, you can gain so much. And it's like, yeah, his military career was pretty boring to read about. Now, given, it's hard to write about your military life. One, you're not allowed to talk about a lot, but he got booted from most of the places he was in after, being there a short while because he's the Prince of fucking England. So yeah, the Taliban's gonna find where you are, bud. They're pretty good about stuff like that. It's worth the read. I thought the Meghan Markle part was the least interesting parts of the book. It really got slow during the military portions. But if you just want to, learn about Harry and some of his antics, it's filled with a lot of his antics. Read it. Out of 10, I give it an 8 out of 10. Out of 5 stars, I'll give it 4 stars. Let me know what you guys thought of the book. Love you, and I'll see you in the next video review.